Now, Europe is monitoring its underground water levels, hoping to avert acute shortages over the summer and mitigate a crisis in some of its driest areas. In our science segment today, we're looking at the situation here in France. It's rained in some regions in recent weeks, but not everywhere. I'm joined here in the studio by a science reporter, Shirli Sitbon. Good to have you as ever with us, Shirli. We know that the the Environment Ministry has issued kind of its latest report today. It says recent rains have improved the situation, but clearly we still can't say that we're going to avert a drought this summer.
Yes, it really depends at which region you're looking, and we have a map that can show the improvement of the situation. It looks at the situation in March and the situation today, and you can see that in March, France was very red, and the red parts show areas where the water levels are extremely low, well below the norm, and the situation in May, you can see that in this map, the colors have changed. There's improvement in Brittany and northern France, in the east, and sometimes in the Paris area, but in the south, it's extremely red. It hasn't rained at all, and the situation is extremely worrying. It takes a few weeks to bring water to the shallow levels underground, the one just beneath the soil, but to lower levels, which we also use, it takes months and months, and we've had a very dry winter. Before having these weeks of rain from March on, we had a very dry winter, and that makes all the difference. It takes time to fill those underground water tables.
So would you say that's why the rains have had such a limited effect on kind of water tables in some areas that we saw on your map there?
Yes, exactly. We can see another map because the one we had which compared the different regions, well, that's by region. But now we have the actual water tables, which, as you can see, is more complex. But this is the situation, the way it actually is underground. And you can see that in some areas you have blue areas which are filled with water underground and others right next to them which are red, which it really depends on the situation and the type of soil. And we can see this is the rain in recent weeks, but it does not affect the fact that underneath this all, the situation is extremely tense. We can look at some images because at the time when the rain falls makes all the difference. In the winter, there are no plants, there's no farming, so the water just enters and soaks into the ground and fills those water tables. But in these images, we can see that the situation has changed because, of course, this is archives, not from right now, but from last summer. There's this crust that was formed. It was so dry that the rainwater just doesn't soak in. So that's really a big difference, and that's what we've seen in recent weeks.
I mean, Shirli, you mentioned it there in your first kind of answer for us. The situation in southern France is essentially alarming, let's be honest. That applies for southern Europe, kind of generally speaking. Spain, for example, is already facing an extreme drought.
It's a historic drought. This summer will be brutal, and they're already asking for help from Europe because it's impossible to tackle this on their own. And you can see these weather anomalies. This is the temperature anomaly in April. And you can see that Spain and the south of Europe, the north of Africa, it's extremely red. They're way above the normal temperatures, where the rest of Europe is in the blue, which means the temperatures were lower than the norms. And this shows really the difference. In Spain, they're going to have a tough summer. And as you probably know, Spain has intensive agriculture. It exports throughout Europe. A third of the fruit grown in Europe comes from Spain. They have to rethink the whole situation, the type of crops they're using. Everything has to be rethought. And of course, in some areas now in Europe, we're starting to do something that's been done in the US, for example, for many years, which is refilling the water tables, but artificially using various canals, trying to pump in water so it can be used at other moments. But basically, this is not going to solve the problem, just, in a specific and some days when the situation is too extreme. But we need to think long term, of course.
We do. So many things to adapt to this changing climate. Shirli, our science reporter, thanks so much.